You start Wuchang Fallen Feathers in a cave, alone, and with no recollection of how you got to where you are or why your arm is covered in feathers. While the game goes on to explain a bit more about the lore and the basic mechanics, in typical Souls-like fashion there are many things that the game explains poorly to you, or just straight up doesn't explain at all. That's why we're here to tell you these 20 things that Wuchang Fallen Feathers doesn't tell you. Wuchang has a very opaque madness system that you'll be interacting with as soon as you start the game, so let's go over how it works. Think of madness broadly as a risk-reward mechanic that causes you to drop an increasing amount of currency, known as red mercury in this game, when you die, and once your madness maxes out, it makes you take and deal more damage. The biggest effect though is that when you die with maximum madness, you must fight a very tough enemy known as your inner demon at the spot of your last death. Defeating your inner demon resets your madness and recovers your dropped mercury, while dying to the inner demon will mean that you lose all of your mercury for good, while still resetting your madness. You can also reduce your madness level by other means if you just don't want to fight it. Your madness level is measured by the silhouette of Wuchang in the bottom left of the screen. It becomes redder and fills up as your madness level increases, which happens slightly when you kill human enemies, decreases slightly when you kill enemies afflicted by the feathering illness, and jumps up significantly when you die. You can also view the character menu to view the inner demon number directly. To reduce madness, you'll need to give an artifact to a shrine found throughout the world, like the one on the second floor of the Shu Sanctum. You can either give a divine gift, which you can snag near the entrance to the Shu Sanctum by performing the worship emote in front of this statue, a fragment of a divine gift, which are typically gained by defeating inner demons, or another artifact to restore all or just a portion of your total madness. These items are usually consumed upon use. There are various benefits to having lower madness compared to higher madness, and vice versa. Because you don't lose all of your mercury in this game at lower madness, you could die with a large amount of mercury and then respawn and level up at a shrine before going back to retrieve what you lost. Of course, if you die without picking up your lost red mercury from your previous death, that mercury will be lost permanently. On the other hand, there are many high madness buffs and perks that you can activate in the skill tree if you choose, so you may start to favor maintaining a high madness stat during your gameplay to keep various buffs active, despite the increased risk of losing more of your mercury upon death. How you choose to balance this stat is up to you. If you ever hear this bird whistling, that means a Goldwing is nearby. You can hit these birds with particular weapon attacks, or by using throwable weapons at range, and they'll drop Aurum feathers. Using an Aurum feather will randomly increase either your maximum health, maximum stamina, or damage dealt for a period of time. Perfect for when you need an edge on a tricky boss fight, or on a long run between shrines. Unlocking the base skill of a branch in the Impetus repository, which is essentially Wuchang's fancy name for skill tree, will reveal many additional skills and attributes that you can unlock. Even if you don't plan on following that particular tree very far, if at all, it can still be important to reveal these next nodes. You might find the upgrade that lets you carry more mana vases, their fancy term for health potions, or attribute nodes that increase your stats. Open up each branch to have a look at what's inside. You can reset a node that you've spent points on in the repository at any time, if you decide there's not much for you in that skill branch. And you can reset the entire skill tree at once by resetting the center node. And don't forget to refine your red mercury essence to spend your red mercury as skill points in the Impetus repository. When you defeat the first major boss, man-eating Dutunga, you'll unlock the ability to temper your weapons for extra damage and status effect build-up. To set up your tempering, first go to any shrine and use the newly unlocked tempering menu. Set bone needle items in the available slots to determine the different effects that tempering your weapon will bring. Once your effects are set, you then need to use the temperance item that looks like Wuchang's messed up arm to activate your tempering. To start, you'll receive a fire buff, and you can unlock more bone needles in the Impetus repository as you go that change the effect. As it's a potent increase to your damage, keep it in mind for tough boss fights or troublesome gauntlets. Accessing a shrine does not automatically restore your health and mana vases, nor does it respawn nearby enemies, so you can use a shrine to level up without necessarily refreshing a given area if you want to keep a location free of enemies. Fast traveling will automatically count as entering the dream, which means resetting the area, so watch out for that if you need to get somewhere else fast. Benedictions are small buffs that you can apply to each weapon, and some benedictions come with set effects, shown by the small icon in the corner. If you stack the same set effect across all 3 benediction slots on a weapon, then the set effect will activate, giving you an extra bonus, like momentum, where killing an enemy increases your damage, but the effect is lost after taking damage. In the Impetus repository, some nodes will require you to spend different resources to activate, instead of spending red Mercury essence. These are usually the Mana Vase upgrade nodes and the Weapon Mastery nodes. These Weapon Mastery upgrade nodes are very potent for increasing your weapon damage, so keep them in mind if you're trying to get a bit stronger. Also be aware that these nodes can also be activated multiple times, until the pips around the border are filled up. You'll find vase upgrade materials from golden chests, and the red feather items that you need for the Weapon Mastery nodes will typically drop when you first defeat tough optional enemies, like these gross little pot mimics. The game does tell you this one, but not for ages. If you hold your item or spell buttons down, you'll be shown a quick menu for activating items and spells respectively. The menu slots from left to right correlate to L2, L1, R1, and R2, or, in Xbox terms, left trigger, left bumper, and right trigger. Learning the muscle memory for these shortcuts in the early game can be invaluable later on for accessing multiple spells or different item slots quickly. Wuchang's attack and item use animations are lengthy and committal, as in once you press the button to perform an action, you cannot cancel the startup or active parts of the animations. You can't change your mind and say, actually I should dodge the incoming enemy attack. This means it's especially important to choose your moments to attack and heal wisely, as you won't be able to dodge out of the way of an attack mid-heal or mid-strike. However, you can cancel the recovery animation with a block or a dodge, as long as you have enough stamina, so don't wait for those final animation frames. Dodge, block, or attack as soon as you can to gain a bit more momentum. Despite the fact that Wuchang isn't an online game, there is no such thing as a pause of the action. Bringing up the pause menu will not stop enemies from attacking you, and in fact if they do land a hit on you, you'll just be booted out of the menu and put right back into the action. So, if you need to step away, make sure you're in a safe place like near a shrine. You can trigger a stagger in most enemies and some bosses by either hitting them with a charged heavy attack from behind, or by attacking them relentlessly to the point where this circular meter fills up. That said, enemies in this game tend to retreat constantly, and offer you very small windows to land a hit. If you want to keep a stagger meter from depleting, you can use throwing knives or spells to keep the meter from resetting, even while you're too far away or otherwise just not in a position to press the attack. The different merchants of Shu Sanctum will have new items for sale as you progress through the game. As you give Tao Qing new valuables, typically gained by killing bosses, he will have new item sets or jade pendants to purchase. These are usually based on the boss monsters that you have defeated. Wuchang, alternatively, will offer other armor sets that you can usually find as random drops from enemies throughout the world, as well as various consumables and the occasional benediction, spell, weapon upgrade material, or divine gifts. You can get these small throwable consumable items called Divination Crescents, which you can throw down on the ground to mark your path. It's good to know what these look like, because occasionally you might find one of these objects placed in the world, showing you that there are invisible walkways that you can cross, like this bridge near Shu Sanctum. In the status attack section of the weapon menu, you are shown how much your stats are contributing to your damage with a certain weapon. This is similar to damage scaling in Souls games. Here, the higher the level associated with a certain skill, the more bonus damage you will receive from that particular skill as a result. Now let's run through some rapid fire final tips to finish off. Wuchang can die when falling out of bounds, which can be quite easy to do. Keep that in mind if you're walking towards a knocked out bridge or across a narrow path. She cannot swim. From the very start of the game, you can customize your armor pieces to look like any other armor piece. Press triangle or Y while hovering over a certain armor piece to change it to look like any other item that you've picked up so far. Holding the dodge button makes your character run, but also pressing and holding the confirmation button will make your character run without dodging first. There are plenty of items that you can find that exist solely to give you red Mercury, and you actually get a surprising amount of them. If you're ever short of a bit of currency, you can use all of your red Mercury essence items at any time for a boost. When you have enough red Mercury to level up, the icon in the top right that shows your red Mercury will be highlighted and glow gold, as will the Impetus Repository menu option at your next shrine visit. You should be caught up to speed now for everything weird, unspoken, or unclear in Wuchang. But there's so much more to learn with this game, so if you need more help with anything, be sure to look at our evolving wiki for combat tips, boss guides, a walkthrough, and more. And for all other things gaming, stick with IGN.